Well, welcome in once again, everybody, to what promises to be another great edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Happy to have you along with us, of course, every show. And you can do me a favor. You know, we could be seen on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. If you get any of that social media where you have a chance to give us a like, please do it. If you have a chance to subscribe, please do it. If you want to leave us some comments, please do it. So we want to bring you the best show that we can every week and have nothing but spectacular guests on the show. And we have a spectacular guest for you today. You know, as people know me, and we've done many shows before, golf and getting better at golf is all about golf instruction. It's pretty darn hard to become a real good player when you're really kind of are on a path that's really taken you nowhere, and repeating the same mistakes and practicing things that are not good for you and whatever. So that's why I love talking about instruction. And there are a number of really good instructors in the country, of course, and we have talked to most of them. We have brought those people to you, and we have one on today again that's really, really one of the best, and he has found a niche in his golf instruction that I think is very, very important, and we're going to hear a lot about it. Let me tell you a little bit about our special guest before we bring him on. Bobby Clampett enjoyed just a spectacular amateur and college career. Bobby turned professional at the age of 20 after his junior year at BYU. Bobby played on the PGA Tour for 16 years, earning himself a lifetime status. And Bobby also competed on the then Web.com Tour and on the Champions Tour. Bobby transitioned into a full-time golf analyst and commentator. You should probably recognize him for CBS Sports Golf Telecast. Back in 1991, Bobby currently is the owner and operator of Impact Zone Golf. Started in 2008, where he and his staff give instruction to both amateurs as well as professional players. Bobby is also the author, where in 2007, he wrote the Impact Zone, which is has become a top-selling instructional book. He's a regular contributor to Golf Digest, and like several PGA players before him, Bobby decided to get into the wine business. We'll talk to him about that with his Clampett Cellars. I haven't gotten any bottles. I'm hoping he'll send me a couple to critique. And finally, Bobby is a member of the California Hall of Fame and the Utah Hall of Fame and the Brigham Young Hall of Fame. I mean, this guy is in more halls than Montezuma, for crying out loud. So without any further ado, let's bring up our special guest, Mr. Bobby Clampett. Bobby, how are you, my friend?
Nice to see you, Dennis. It's been way too long since we've chatted.
It has been way too long. The first time I met Bobby was at Quail Lodge, right near where he's living, where he is right now. And he was giving a class there. I did a remote there and had Bobby on. And of course, and I want you to do me a favor, Bobby, I met just a tremendous guy, Mr. Ben Doyle, who was a student of the Golfing Machine, and really, as Bobby is. Have you got a good Ben Doyle story for us, Bobby?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
I bet you there are.
For so many years, he was the first authorized golf instructor of the Golfing Machine. He worked directly with Homer Kelly, the author of the Golfing Machine. And Ben became my instructor after Lee Martin left the club in 1973. I was 13 years old. And Ben took a liking to me, and we started to work. And there's so many stories. I remember when we first started working, of course, there weren't too many homes built around the driving range back then at Quail Lodge in 1973. And there was a lot adjacent to where Ben taught on the far right side of the range that had very long grass. The grass was probably a foot high or so. And one of the things that Ben was teaching me early on when we first started working was how to create clubhead lag in my downswing. And he said, clubhead lag right out of the golfing machine and Homer Kelly is the secret of golf. And today I still believe it.
Yeah.
And it's part of my golf instruction system with impact-based teaching. But he told me in order to learn clubhead lag, he said, take your 5-iron and I want you to mow down all the grass in that lot with your 5-iron. In other words, get in there and start swinging till all the grass is gone. Now, this is a 1-acre lot, all of full 1 foot tall grass. And so for 3 weeks, I got in there and just would be swinging for hours a day in this thing, learning and feeling the resistance of the club at the bottom. And at the end of that 3-week period, my swing had really developed into what is more my swing today. And one of the trademarks of my swing was always a lot of lag.
A lot of lag, which a lot of people talk about today. Well, let's start off. This question is going to be right up your alley. I'm sorry, right up your fairway, Bobby. Why do you think there are so many different swing techniques that have developed over the years, all wanting the same result, all wanting to deliver the club head squarely to the ball? Why in the heck are there so many different philosophies about it?
Well, it's a great question, Dennis, and there's been a lot about golf instruction written. There's never been any organization that's really taken the lead on golf instruction. I'm proud to say that I'm a master professional of the PGA of America with teaching and coaching. But there isn't, even within the PGA, there's not a way to earn how to become like a director of instruction. You can become a head professional with the PGA. You can become a general manager with the PGA.
Right.
Great training for that. But there's not training, and hasn't been ever. They're working toward that. But there's never been training on how to become a director of instruction. And so with that, there's never been any organization that's taken the lead in golf instruction. So it's been very loose, opinion-based, and you've seen all kinds of different techniques. And where the golf industry has migrated into what I call style-based teachers. And there's a plethora of style-based teaching techniques that some are made very popular by some of the very named professionals, and I could just spout out, stack and tilt, one plank, two plank, A swing, square to square swing, gravity golf swing. You go down the list, and they're all styles of golf swings.
Right.
And then you have the best players in the world, and I don't think there's ever been a time where this is more obvious than any time in the past. But you put in today, you put Jim Furyk with Bryson DeChambeau and Matt Wolff in a group together, and they don't swing anything like any of those styles of swings. And then, I think back to my years on the Champions Tour. I was blessed to go back after a 15-year hiatus away from competition and played 5 straight years on the Champions Tour, played 87 events out there. And I remember one of the rounds opening the season in Naples and getting paired with Jim Thorpe and Fuzzy Zoeller.
Oh, wow.
Now, those you couldn't put 3 different golf swings in a group if you tried. And we got up there with our 3 very different style swings, and all 3 of us shot 69 that day.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was just a perfect example of how there's so many different ways to do it. And the bottom line is, what do you create at impact? All the great players have great impact.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
And that's my whole impact-based teaching system, is based on what are those ingredients of impact, and then how to create it regardless of your style of swing.
Well, let me follow up with that. That's very well said. And correct me, Bobby, if you disagree with me, but I think the golf swing in general is a pretty simple move, back and through, and that a lot of amateurs, most amateurs, either try to add or enhance things to their swing, which really leads to problems. You agree or not?
Well, completely. And I'll tell you, I'll even go a step farther. I think most amateurs think the secret is in some tip that they've read on the internet or in a golf publication, or
Right.
that their friends or some instructor has given them, and they think that the secret is in changing their swing. And it's actually the downfall of my career. You know, Dennis, well, that I was a top 20 player in the world in
Yep.
the early 80s as a young 20, 21, 22-year-old. And then I got talked into going to work with the so-called best teachers of the game, and they all wanted to change my style of
Right.
swing.
Right.
And I was unfortunately dumb enough to believe them. And so I went down that process, and I never cracked the top 80 ever again. And it led to a broadcasting career, but then ultimately led to my discovery of impact-based teaching. So the reality is that most amateurs don't have an understanding of impact and don't have an understanding of cause and effect. When the ball goes a different direction than they intended it to go, I often hear in the thousands of pro-ams I've played in over the years, why did I hit it over there? Well, you hit it over there because your conditions at impact were such that sent the ball over there.
Right.
And then if you really get to understand what impact is and understand where your low point should be and understand your path and your face and where you hit the ball on the face, you understand all these aspects of impact, then all of a sudden the game starts to make sense. But if you think it's, well, I didn't finish my shoulder turn on that one, or I was a little too fast, or I looked up, or all these plethora of swing things that I hear over and over again from the average amateur golfer that have nothing to do with the cause and
Right.
effect of what caused the ball to go over there. And it's unfortunately, Dennis, causing a real problem in our game because it leads to frustration. And golfers are typically very frustrated because
Yeah.
they don't improve. Many golfers that I know
Right.
have been playing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and even more, and have gotten to a threshold where they're never getting better. And in fact, a lot of times they're getting worse. And the more they practice, the worse they get. And the reason is because they don't understand impact and how to fix it and how to create it.
Totally correct, and that takes me to my question, and I'm curious to get your answer before we take our first break. Number one, there is some buzz going around with certain people that are of the belief, Bobby, that golf lessons are just too darn long, 60 minutes, way too much overload, that they should be limited to maybe 20 minutes and just have that person, work on that one thing and then master that, so to speak, and then come back, we'll kick it up a level and stuff. And the other myth is, and I think it is a myth, I don't want to take lessons because you know what happens when you take lessons, I'm going to suck for a couple of months until I get this down, what my instructor tells me, and so on and so forth. Why don't you talk about that and give us your feelings?
Well, I think one of the big mistakes that a lot of instructors make is they try to give too much information too soon, and they clog the poor student's mind with so many different things. I never give my student more than two, maximum three things, and in the swing, never more than two things to think about. The swing lasts for about a second and a half. How can you focus on more than two things? Maybe one backswing thought, one downswing thought. And so almost all my lessons, Dennis, you might be surprised at this, almost all my lessons are 2 hours or more. And to think that you're going to accomplish a lot in 20 minutes. Now, it depends on the instructor, but one of the things that good instructors have the ability to do, and I quote good instructors, they have an ability to prioritize what needs fixing first. Because if you can look at a person's golf swing and be able to determine, if I fix this, I'm also going to be able to fix 10 other things at the same time with only focusing on one thing. That's good golf instruction.
Yeah.
And the way you get to that point is understanding impact and what the opportunity lies for that student at impact. But everybody has an opportunity to improve their impact. You got to look at what is the greatest opportunity and work backwards from that.
Yeah.
The golf industry as a whole looks at what do they want to change in the swing, and it becomes a subjective, opinion-based ideal. And this is what creates so much chaos in the industry, because it is subjective and relative. where if you're looking at impact, you can actually measure these things and it becomes objective and
Yeah.
measurable.
Absolutely.
When you can be objective and measure it, you can actually see I'm improving. I'll give you one example.
Right.
One of the things that we measure is face-to-path variances. Really important thing. I've never heard of another instructor ever measure this before, but we do it consistently with our students. And for example, if they have a 10-degree face-to-path variance and a 50-yard wide dispersion pattern, if I can reduce that face-to-path variance to 5 degrees, that 50 yards is going to go to 25 yards. So they become twice as accurate. What does that do to their golf score? And you can actually measure these things. So this is what good golf instruction does. It prioritizes what the value or what the priority is at impact and works backwards from there. And anything we work on is for the sole purpose of improving impact, not improving your style.
Right.
Point.
No, that's I agree with that 100%. Well said. All right, I'll tell you what, Bobby, stay with us. We're going to step away and take a short break. We come back. We're going to, of course, have a lot more with our special guests from Impact Zone Golf, Mr. Bobby Clampett. Back right with you right after this.
When I first learned about Encore, I was a little taken back because I didn't know much about the ball. I went out and played a couple rounds with it, and I was just extremely surprised how this ball made up for what I was looking for in a golf ball 20 years ago. It's a very straight ball. It launches a little higher than other balls that I've used, which is ideal for the tour because we're playing firm and fast greens. A lot of the balls do fly very similar, but this ball reacts so much differently around the greens and inside 100 yards than any other ball I've ever played. The combination of this ball is the best ball that I've ever played.
If you're lucky enough to be a subscriber to clickatgolf.com, you could get the daily divots every day. And as you saw in the commercial, it's a great way to start your day because there are hilarious videos on there, most of which pertain to golf. So it's a great way to start your day. Another great way to do it is continue with our guest, Bobby Clampett. And Bobby, I know this may not be your forte, but what can you guys get to the range, the weekend players, they're banging drivers, they're doing this and doing that, and to me, they ignore what I call the scoring part of the game, and that's, of course, chipping and putting. What can you do as a top instructor to make putting more sexy so they practice it more?
Well, putting is a huge part of the game, and short game is a huge part of the game. It's so interesting. In some of my interviews with students, I'll talk to them about their game and have them give me a background on what they think about their game, their strengths and their weaknesses. And most people say, well, I'm a really good putter. And I say, okay, tell me a little bit about how many putts you usually have. And they say, well, I two-putt most of the greens, and then I might have a few three-putts during a round. I said, do you have any one-putts? Oh, maybe a couple. I said, how many three-putts do you usually have in a round? No, 4 or 5. So you average like 38 putts a round. Would that be fair to say? Yeah, that's probably about right. I said, do you know what the PGA Tour average is for putting? No. Well, it's 29 putts a round. So you're actually costing yourself 9 strokes a round just on PGA Tour average. How about the worst putter on the PGA Tour? You know what they average around? No, 32 putts a round. So you're actually 6 strokes higher than the worst putter on the PGA Tour. So, how you quantify good is rather interesting. And I think the average golfer doesn't really put a lot of stock in what is good putting, and it's not sexy, just like you said, right? It's like
It's boring.
It's boring,
Yeah.
yeah, it's putting. But you know what? We make it interesting, and putting is a combination. I don't care, just like in the golf swing, I don't care what style putting you use. I don't care if you're a long putter, short putter, reverse, cross-handed, saw grip. I don't care. It gets right down to impact.
Yeah.
And so we use SandPutt Technologies at our studio in Florida, and we break it down. I break down putting into the following. I break it down into a person's ability to hit the ball on line, and then I break it down to a person's ability to control speed, which is extremely important in putting. And we have actual objective measurements that we can determine their abilities to hit it on line, whether it's setup, whether it's in the stroke, consistencies of it. And then we look at ball roll and tempo of the stroke,
Right.
Acceleration rates for how they'll be able to control speed. And then ultimately, they still got to be able to read the green. So you break it down into those 3 categories, and invariably you'll find 1 or 2 that the person is quite weak in, and be able to focus and make some changes in that. And it's not uncommon to see a lot of my players improve 4 or 5 strokes in their putting quickly, like
Wow.
in just a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
So, most people come in, they're 14 handicap, they want to get down to a single digit, and they think it's all ball striking. But
No.
you could, in most cases, you can do that just in putting alone. But of
Hey.
course, they all want to be a better ball striker.
Well, exactly right. So you've become the Dave Pells of Florida, is what you're saying.
Well, I think to be Dennis, in all fairness, as a tour player, having played over 500 PGA Tour events, you recognize the value of every aspect of the game.
Oh, no doubt about it. No
Your
doubt
golf
about
swing
it.
is one. You've got to be able to perform tee to green, but you also got to be able to perform around the greens.
Totally.
And you have to perform on different grasses and understand reading different lies. and
Oh,
different
absolutely.
sand.
It's
And
a
there's
whole
lot to learn.
package. Yeah, it's a whole package. Yeah.
It's the whole package. That's why I take my students out on the golf course a lot, because as an instructor, I learn a lot about my students when I get them out on the course.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Bobby, because that is my next question. It depends on who you talk to as far as instructors and this and that and the other, as far as what value they place on playing lessons. I know some people, quite honestly, think it's a waste of time. I know others that said, no, it's very, very important. Obviously, you feel it's important. Why do you feel that way?
Well, I think any instructor should feel that it's important, because it's not the truth that it's not important. And I think a lot of instructors don't have a facility that allows them to get on the golf course. So then they're relegated to inside a studio only, and they can't sell on-course lessons. But at our academy in Fort Myers, Florida, at the Club at Renaissance, we have a wonderful Arthur Hills golf course. And I take my students out there a lot, work on our games. And so it's the best of both worlds, because I'll give you an example. So I saw this just the other day with a student. I actually did really well on the range. The 5 dynamics, as you know, Dennis, in my teaching system, they were performing really well on the range. They were getting nice shots on the range. And then they got out on the golf course, and their ability to aim and execute a shot was horrific. They would be aiming 20, 30 yards offline on shots and wondering why they were so inconsistent.
Wow.
So then it just became an exercise of how to teach them how to aim and how to visualize in pre-shot routines, and instantly they were better. Others have what we call a ball bound factor. and you put the ball down there on the course, and they revert back to their instincts of
Right.
what they've done their whole lives, and
Right.
anything you were working on the range goes right out the window.
Exactly.
And that's a whole different set of circumstances to how to take a student who's stuck in the ball bound factor and break them out of that. But you have to get to be able to do it on the course, otherwise what's the value?
Exactly. And all of a sudden they get out, it's when people, they may hit a great on the driving range, they get to the first tee, and all of a sudden they realize, oh my God, this counts, and they get that pressure and all that stuff. Bobby, what's your feeling about training aids? Some instructors use them, some instructors don't. I personally think most of them, really, to be honest, are kind of a waste of time. I think some are good. I don't know if you use them in your lessons, but what's your feeling about them?
Well, I'm in your camp there, Dennis. I think most of them are a waste of time. We only sell, I think we have 7 or 8 training aids in our whole pro shop. And people can go online and see the ones that we sell, and those are the ones that we find value. But what I do is I want training aids that are truly going to make a difference in either the dynamics of impact or the aspects of impact. And if I can't find a training aid that's going to specifically make a difference in those areas, then it's a waste of time. So I would say, over the years, I seem to be one of those people that a lot of the people building and inventing training aids looks to and wants an endorsement of. And I used to get more than I get now, because now I charge for consulting and giving them a true opinion. But, I was getting in the neighborhood of over 100 a year.
Wow.
Training aids coming my way.
Wow.
Wanting advice on, and it just became way too much. I couldn't handle that. But I found some that I really like.
Yeah.
And I found some that really help my students. But sometimes I actually got training aids that don't cost anything. I'll use a paper cup, or I'll use alignment rods, or things like that are quickly and easily available.
Yeah.
That you don't have to go spend $100 to
Well,
go buy.
and exactly. And if people were prudent, they would look at those and, take advantage of those kind of speak. Bobby, stay with us. We're up against another hard break, a short one. When we come back, we'll have a lot more from Bobby Clampett. He also gets into golf course design, so we're going to talk to him about that. Stay with us. Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over, because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at EncoreGolf.com, and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to EncoreGolf.com and see for yourself. Your scorers will love you for it. That's ONCORE Golf.com.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the Lag Shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag Shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the Lag Shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. visit lagshotgolf.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to More of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, having a great conversation with Mr. Bobby Clampett. And I mentioned he's into golf course design, has got a lot of experience with that. And Bobby, I wanted to ask you, what are a couple of, do you think, couple of the most important elements in designing a golf course? And let's say for this example, it's a public golf course. What do you make sure a couple of things that you make sure you've got to do for the enjoyment of people who play that golf course?
Make sure, first of all, that they can find their ball when they hit it 80 yards right off the tee.
I love it. I love it.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Never put the 18th hole facing west, because then the sun is going to blind you when you're playing in late in the afternoon. Never put the first tee facing east, because then that's going to blind you early in the morning. So those are a couple instant things that pop into my mind. But
Yeah.
I think I'm mindful. I've worked years with a longtime friend of mine in the golf design business, Chuck Smith in North Carolina, and we built several courses together. And I'm mindful of Chuck always telling me form follows function. So whenever you build a golf course, it's form follows function, and you have to understand how to integrate the natural topography and cause things. Whenever you're changing or manipulating something, it still has to produce a function and a design and appealing to the eye. I've always liked designing with tee shots, especially, that draw my eye to the exact aiming point off the tee. And that's a trick. That's a unique thing. I love Tom Fazio. I'm a big fan of many of the name architects, but I've gotten to know Tom quite well. And I love when he told me one time that and I'd never considered this before, and I hope to be able to build another golf course so I can implement this strategy. But he always said he wanted to make the golf course as pleasing to the eye from tee to green as from green back to the tee. Mm-hmm. And I'd never considered that. And it's so true. You know, when you play some of the older courses like St. Andrews, and you look back from the green back to the tee, you can't see any of the bunkers.
Yeah.
But in Fazio courses, you see a whole different landscape, and it's beautiful. So I think there's, one of the things that I personally am a big fan of in golf course design is I think the golf course has to be playable to the average golfer.
Absolutely.
You can always make it harder.
Yeah.
By narrowing the fairways, growing rough, making the greens hard and fast. That will hold true on any golf course.
Right.
But for day-to-day play, let's leave the greens at 11 on the stump meter. Let's let them be relatively soft.
Yep.
Let's make the fairways at 45 yards wide and not too penal of rough. Let's let them find their golf balls.
Yep.
Let's let them enjoy a round of golf. How frustrating is it when they're losing 6 balls around?
Yeah. True.
They don't want to come back to that course.
No, they don't want to come back, and they don't have a good experience, and they're probably not going to come back. And you know a lot of these guys, Bobby, with the way these guys are hitting it today, the length off the tee, would you agree with me that the tour could put them out on a golf course that's over 8,000 yards? These guys would still shoot unbelievable scores.
There's no question about it. You know, I'm thinking back 2 years ago. I was 59 years old, Dennis, and as you recall, 2 years ago, the U.S. Open came back to Pebble Beach. So, of course, when the U.S. Open comes to Pebble Beach, I got to throw my name in there and go through local qualifying. And lo and behold, I shot 31 on the back nine in a local qualifier, and then won a spot in a playoff, tying for the lead, and then got to go to the regionals. And I went up to Scioto in Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
in the regionals
Great
that
course.
Jack Nicklaus had redone. And it was 46 degrees when I teed off.
Woo.
It's a 7,300 yard par 70. So you figure 200 yards per par. So that's 7,300 yards. It's really 7,700 yard par 72 would be.
Wow.
And at 7,700 yards at 48 degrees early in the morning and no roll in the fairways.
Yeah.
Every green is elevated, rolling 13 on the stent meter and super firm. A 59-year-old had exactly this much chance of doing anything. I hit 5 greens in regulation that day. We went to the other course and I hit 14 greens in regulation. And
Wow.
the problem is my short game wasn't good enough to hang in there. But that's the reality is these guys hit it so far, they're still shooting many rounds in the 60s that day.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But they're hitting 9 irons into holes I'm hitting 4 irons into.
Wow.
And there's a huge difference
Yeah.
between the two when you're dealing with hard, fast greens.
Wow. All right. So let me ask you this: when and I'm planning on this, and hopefully I could pull it off pretty soon. When I go to Naples and I land at the airport in Fort Myers, I could just get off and walk to your facility, if that's where it is.
Pretty close. It's a 5-minute cab ride.
Seriously?
To the Renaissance Club.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right there next to the Fort Myers Southwest Regional Airport. And yeah, we're right there. We've got a great academy building with 2 hitting bays. We use Foresight and TrackMan, Swing Catalyst. We have a 3D balance motion pressure plate, which is just a fantastic piece of equipment that Tiger has at his house, and that I've become an expert in understanding. And it's really even helped my game, Dennis, being able to understand how you use ground forces and the sequence in which you use ground forces to help you maintain the lag through impact. Because a lot of people have lag, but then they throw it out too early. And
Right.
a lot of the reasons why is they're not effective with what we call the workhorse. That is their ability to use ground forces
Right.
to maintain lag through impact.
Yeah, it's
And-
very important. When are you going to be heading back to Florida? Because I'm hoping to come out maybe sometime in October, and I don't know. And what's my rate for a 2-hour lesson with you? By the way, I don't know if I could spend 2 hours with you. Number one, but what's my rate?
Well, to be honest with you, Dennis, I'm actually full, and I'm not taking. I will do assessments with students, but I'm not even taking new students in Florida right now because I'm full, and I charge $6.95 an hour for lessons. So it's kind of a strange scenario, but with you, I'd work something out for sure to do a 2-hour assessment, and I'll take anybody in for a 2-hour assessment because that's not a committed program. But almost all my students now are on what we call annual coaching plans.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
That way, yeah, that gets back to our other conversation about every aspect of the game.
Of the
right?
game,
It's not
right.
just,
Yeah.
teaching them 1 or 2 things about your swing. It's improving your whole game.
Exactly. Last question before I let you go. How in the world did you get involved in Clampett Cellars? What made you get in the wine business?
Well, I've always loved wine, and of course, growing up here on the Monterey Peninsula is a great part of the wine country in the world. Not far from Napa, but Monterey County wines, Pinot Noirs here are fantastic. Some of the best in the world. And my early years on the Champions Tour, I traveled and became very good friends with David Frost.
Okay.
And we would stay together, and one of the things that we connected on was wine. Of course, David grew up in Stellenbosch, South Africa, and his family owned a vineyard, and they produced wine. And David is really knowledgeable about wines, and I gleaned a lot of knowledge from him. And through time, had a lot of friends and connections in the wine business. And so David really encouraged me and said, hey, you should get into this. And so I started private labeling with some of my contacts and great winemakers. But I went a little different direction. I went more for the higher end stuff, where most of the professionals that have done this have kind of kept in the lower end.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone too high end, but higher than what they have done. And so I looked at it that I wanted wines that I was going to enjoy, because if I didn't sell them, I wanted to be able to drink them myself.
Yeah, where can we find them here in Southern Nevada, in the Las Vegas Valley, or are they just online or something?
So it's tricky, isn't it? So we have we're in the Safeway stores here in Carmel right now with 3 of our wines.
Okay.
From our partner Folktail. And then, of course, we have a wine bar in Florida, and if you come take lessons from us in Florida, we can take care of you. We're working on a wine club that would be a direct-to-consumer model, but that's a very complicated process because every state has different wine laws, and you have to get registered and do things in every state. So it's it costs millions of dollars to put something like that together, and I've got a great partner. They're working on it. But then we also have a wine distributor, exclusive distributor in the state of Florida, putting our wines in the restaurants and country clubs in Florida. So you're going to start seeing them throughout the state of Florida, as we already got several scheduled wine
that's
dinners.
great. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to sitting down with you and having several glasses of your wine and sampling the reds and sampling the whites and all of that stuff. Anyway, Bobby, thanks so much. I know you're busy for taking time out. It's great to catch up. It's great to see you. And, I wish you nothing but the best success. And if I do get out to Naples, which I'm really planning on doing, I would love to touch base with you.
Yeah, please do, Dennis. Let us know when you're coming in, and we'll roll out the red carpet for you and improve your golf game at the same time.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Bobby, thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Bobby Clampett, everybody. Great guy and a very, very good teacher with Impact Zone Golf. All right, we're going to do our game tip of the week with Adam Bazalgette from Scratch Golf Academy in Naples, Florida. Then we'll do a couple of commercials. We'll come back. We'll finish up the show. Stay with us.
Well, that felt reasonably good. Adam Bazalgette here, founder of Scratch Golf Academy, with another swing improvement tip for the podcast, 19th Hole for Golfers. Today, talking about keeping that left arm straight. The lead arm, it would be the right arm for the right-handed golfer, the left-handed golfer, excuse me. Should you keep it straight? Well, certainly it's an ideal. I mean, hey, that's the radius of your golf swing. The trail arm folds a little bit in the backswing. If your radius is pretty stable and consistent, you're a more consistent golfer, likely hit the ball a little bit farther as well. Now, before we talk on how I think you'll want to go about keeping that straight, because it bothers a lot of people. They're unable to do it. Some people aren't that flexible, especially through the lats and shoulders. If you're one of those people, reasonably straight will certainly do it. Tom Watson would be one of the great players that had some bend in his left arm. So if it really strains you back here, don't overdo trying to do it. Now, here's the thing to me that causes people to struggle with keeping the left arm straight. Believe it or not, it's the grip. I'm going to come up to the camera. People grip it too much in the palm of the hand, making it difficult to cock their wrists. And what happens as they go back, the wrists don't set very well. And listen, you're not going to hit the ball very far without much wrist cock, so naturally they start to overdo their body and arm motion to finish their backswing, and it bends here. What you want is a grip that's under that heel pad, on top of the club, giving you leverage to push down so that when you're at about this point in the backswing, you can push the handle out. We don't need to be getting the club head pushed out. Push the handle out so that from about here to here in your backswing, maybe a third of the way back to the top, you can really push out, and that wrist cock in conjunction with the pushing out straightens that lead arm and keeps it straight, because it actually feels like it's getting wider all the way to the top. Try it in front of a mirror. Try it in slow motion. It'll really help your game. Make sure you can hinge that wrist freely and easily. You're on top of the club. Nothing handsy here, but push the handle out. Create a nice sharp wrist cock. If you're a little tight there, let it bend just a bit. I hope this helps.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence (AI) has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. And by the way, speaking of lessons and online lessons that we've talked about, if you want, I think they're the best. And that, go to scratchgolfacademy.com, and Adam is just phenomenal with that. But anyway, I want to thank Bobby Clampett for coming on. Haven't seen him for a few years. Still looks the same. The man does not age. So, I'd love to know his secret. But great interview, great show. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition. We hope you get out and play some golf, fairways and greens, make some putts, and we'll see you back here same time, same place. And we're on Thursdays now. Thursdays at noon instead of Wednesdays. And if you find us on different social media platforms, please subscribe. Give us some likes. We appreciate that. So long, everybody. We'll see you next time.